Hey everybody, Kevin here, Skylabs, bringing you another video. Definitely gonna be a fun one. This one's gonna be interesting in that we're doing something a little bit different. I haven't been this excited about a new product probably since the U-turn. It's been a while, but this thing is just so cool. We're gonna get into that. And after I go over the good and the bad, I'll kind of give you my idea of who I think this amplifier was made for. And maybe if it's something you should think about picking up. Today, we're gonna talk about the Nobsound B100 hybrid tube amplifier. And you're probably thinking, so what is this new thing you're so fired up about, Kevin? And it's this little guy right here. And I'm just blown away with this thing, to tell you the truth. It's got some negatives, there's no question, but really, I think Nobsound just nailed this thing. And is it Nobsound or is it Nobsound? I really want it to be Nobsound, even though I remember calling my friends Knobs back in the day. It's really a bad name for electronics company. But I think once you start reading their literature and some other things, you realize there's kind of a language barrier going on here because they claim this to be a Class A amplifier in the manual. And I think everybody at the shop, when I took this thing out of the box, kind of giggled. There's just no way this is Class A. And I did watch a couple other reviews on this one. And why some are saying it's Class D, and others have said it's Class AB. I think this is Class D because there's no ventilation. So we'll find out. I actually reached out to the rep to get some clarification on that. And if I get that information, I'll record that part separately on what this is. All right, I got my email back from the people at Nobsound, and they didn't tell me much as far as Class A or Class D amplification. So let's just open this thing up. As they say, have no fear, open the gear.
That's the switch mode power supply. Well, maybe I take it back.
Oh, look at that. Looky there, fellers. Yeah, those are 4 transistors right there. All right, well, we've got a Class AB amplifier. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, thermal paste and everything. We've got a Class AB amplifier
Seriously, though, yeah, I do think it might be.
Thanks, Rob. That was fun.
Bye now.
But you've got a 25 watt per channel integrated amplifier with a ton of inputs and outputs. And that's one of the best things about this. It's really the possibilities with all these inputs and outputs that does make this thing so cool. You've got 2 RCA line level inputs here. You've got a coax, optical, subwoofer output, headphone jack, and your nice speaker terminals here. To me, this product feels really well made. The volume pot feels good when you manipulate it. It's got a VU meter on the front. The only way that could be better is if it had 2. But at $180, I think this thing is really impressive. I definitely like the fact that they gave you all those inputs and outputs. And honestly, the build and style on this is really one of my favorite things about it. I love the finish. I like the look. I like the fact that it's kind of cubey, but it's got tubes sticking out of it. It almost looks steampunk, but refined in a way. It's kind of an odd combination. And usually I am not a fan of cheaper amplifiers and electronics with tubes sticking out of them for several reasons. One, usually it's just kind of selling novelty and the tubes really aren't doing that much. And 2, it's a bummer that you can't stack other pieces of equipment on top of it. So it kind of renders that space useless. However, with this one, because it's square, squatty, and, takes up a good amount height-wise, I don't feel like it's as intrusive as, a long flat piece with tubes sticking out of it. I really think in like a desk environment, this would fit really nicely next to your computer. And the other thing that was interesting about this, and this comes out of the box with the tubes already installed. You don't have to install the tubes. But after I pulled it out of the box, and usually one of the first things I do when I get a piece of equipment that's got tubes in it, and I'm wondering if those tubes are actually part of the audio circuitry, as I pull the tubes out and see if it still produces audio. And when I pulled the tube out, I realized that's not an orange LED in there. They had just put this plastic little orange reflector piece on here, which does a really good job of illuminating that tube. And the first thing about the B100 I want to say when it comes to the sound is, if you are going into this amplifier wanting to get your first tube experience, or you're wanting to experience a tube amplifier, this is not it. This does not sound like a tube amplifier. That preamp tube buffer stage might be adding some tube like effect to it, but it's a far cry from a true class A tube amplifier. That sounds completely different than what this sounds like. But once again, at 180 bucks, the sound that this amplifier produces is really good. And we've had this thing hooked up for 2 weeks now on the floor. And a lot of the regular customers that come in, it's one of the first things I do is walk them over there and go, check this thing out. Listen to how good this thing sounds. And why this phase linear definitely has a very large upper leg on this little amplifier, it was pretty surprising how well it did compared to the phase linear. We actually had several people, because we did do a blind test. A lot of people picked this one. Granted, we weren't pushing high SPLs. We're not driving really inefficient speakers where that phase linear would just eat this thing for lunch. I am definitely not trying to over glorify this amplifier and say it could go head to head with a big class AB amplifier like that. I'm not. But it was really interesting to see what people thought. I literally just sat them in front of an AB switch. I did not tell them what they were switching. We were going out of a Wii Mini into both amplifiers. They did not know if they were A-Bing the amplifiers. They didn't know if they were A-Bing the source. They just knew that they were doing an A-B test. And I think every single person that took that test was shocked at what they were A-Bing. And at one point, just out of curiosity, I kind of wanted to see what the DAC was like inside of the B100. And it wasn't anything super impressive. I don't think it was any better than the Wii Mini. So, if you're wanting to do critical listening and stuff like that, I think you're probably going to want to get, an external DAC. I honestly think in the last couple of weeks, we've thrown 5 or 6 sets of speakers on this thing just to see. And that included like baby Advents, some EPI 100s. We put a mid-90s set of Canton Carrot 920s. Sounded excellent. And the outlier with these speakers and where this thing really struggled was a pair of B&W DMZ2s. Even though we were able to get some pretty good volume, they just sounded kind of dead. And I'd almost kind of expect that. This is a 25 watt per channel amplifier for $180. And another pair that it really kind of struggled with was a pair of Monitor Silver 100s. It just didn't have enough to really open these things up like they need to be. So once again, at this price point, if you have a reasonably efficient set of speakers, you're going to be just fine driving them. There's no problem with that 25 watts. I just really kind of wanted to see what its limitations were. And some of these big box and these modern speakers, it just kind of struggled with a little bit. And I'm not a huge headphone person. I'm happy with my Grados, and they sounded awesome. Definitely wouldn't have any complaints listening to that all day long. And now that we've talked about all the things that I think makes this $180 amplifier what it is, which is awesome, there are some negatives. One, there's no remote. And while I'm used to not having a remote, I've been without a remote for a long time because I listen to vintage stereo equipment most of the time. Because the B100 has so many inputs, integrating a TV into this amplifier is an option. It's kind of a shame that it doesn't have a remote control for those that would want to hook their TV up to this amplifier. And the second one of them would be the placement of that power switch. In one way, it's okay because you can't stack something on top of it, so reaching behind it is not as big of an issue. On the flip side, they could have at least put it on the top. And the last negative would be the tubes they chose. You can't get these tubes, so it's kind of an issue. However, I reached out to the rep at Nobsound. He came back with some good news in that they are going to sell a 4-pack of these tubes. And he said this was something that was going to be available here soon. Now, keep this in mind. With preamp tubes, because they don't generate a lot of heat, they usually last a really long time. And so this might not be a situation at all where you never have to replace them. If it were me and I was buying one of these, I'd probably pick up an extra set. Hopefully by the time you see this video, they've already put that up on Amazon, and we'll have a link to that product down in the description. We'll also have links in the description for you to buy one of these B100s. If you click on that, we do get a small commission, but it's not going to increase the price that you pay. It's just a great way to help support the channel, and we definitely appreciate that. For you that are local, if you're wanting to pick up one of these B100s, we will have them for sale here. So should you buy one of these? Is this the right amplifier for you? And my suggestion, my opinion would be, if you're looking for a second system, I don't think I'd be happy with this as my main system. That's just me. But if I was looking to put together a second system, or maybe something for an office or a den or a small bedroom, this would be my go-to. No question. At 180 bucks, that's insane. At least as far as new products go. You know, if you want to keep it vintage, I get it. Trust me, I get it. But if you're looking for something new that does a really good job, has a ton of inputs and outputs, 25 watts per channel, I don't know, for $180 this thing can be beat. I really don't. It's pretty impressive. So I guess going into this holiday season, you might even be able to grab one of these on Black Friday, one of those sales events coming up, maybe give it as a gift. The Nobsound B100, that would be my recommendation, I think, right now. So definitely thank you for watching another video. I really appreciate that. Head over to skylabsaudio.com/shop. Lots of t-shirts, all those other goodies, stuff like that. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. Thanks.